Welcome students to another session. This week we're going to be talking about Latin American music. So I decided to bring a close friend of mine to give us a demonstration about some of the different Latin American instruments that were developed in Latin America after the Spanish came. So here today we have Andres Pantoja. He's a second-year doctoral student at the University of Arizona. So Andres, can you tell us a little bit on how did you started playing charango?
I started playing charango after I played for a long time the classical guitar. I was like in my 20s and I got very interested about the Latin American music, the music from the Andes as well. And I started listening a lot of music and playing these instruments that is very similar to the guitar, but I had to get used to another techniques.
So tell us a bit about this instrument. What's the name of the instrument and what geographical region plays this instrument?
Oh, yeah, the charango. This instrument comes from Bolivia. This is the first register of the charango. The first time it was written something about the charango was in the 19th century in Potosí. Potosí was a very rich city during the colony. Even in the 1630, has like 160,000 people.
So a big population.
Yeah, a big population for that time, even bigger than London.
Okay.
To give you an example, and it was rich because there was silver mines, and it was called the City of the Silver. And this city was part of the Viceroyalty of Peru, and the charango was born in that region and spread out from this Viceroyalty of Peru for a route that between Potosí and Lima, for many cities like Arequipa, Cusco, La Paz, and more cities in Bolivia and Peru as well.
And is the instrument based in another instrument? Like how this instrument became to be? Where does it come from?
Yeah, it is said that this is part of the family of the guitar. There are many scholars that have research about the charango, but it's not clear if it comes from the vihuela, from the Spanish vihuela, the Spanish guitar, or the bandurria, which is a kind of mandolin, the Spanish mandolin. It is not clear yet. The most important researcher, Ernesto Cabur, which is a really, really good, very famous charanguist, charango player, said that it comes from the vihuela, which is a similar instrument. It's like this instrument is like the guitar. It's very similar.
So it's a little bit smaller than the guitar.
Yeah.
And it was played kind of during the Baroque time, right? And it also had double strings. So can you show us a little bit how the strings are organized in the charango?
Yeah, right. The charango has 5 pairs of strings, or 5 courses, as we said in music. The tuning is very similar to some Baroque guitars. That's why some scholars believe that comes from the Baroque guitar.
Can you tell us how it's tuned, the names of the notes, so they can have it as a reference?
Yeah, this is an E, A, E, but the third course has 2 E's, a lower and a higher E.
In octaves?
In octaves. C and G.
Okay. It's like an A minor 7.
A minor 7 chord, right.
Well, it's nice that you can just strum it and
and we usually play it in that key. Okay. Most of the pieces are in A minor.
So going back to the construction of the instrument, I have seen some that they have very curious characteristics, right? Can you show the back of your instrument, what it's made of, and how traditionally what kind of animal they use to make the...
Yeah. I think that for a long time, the luthiers make the charango from armadillo shell.
Mm-hmm.
They dried and molded this shell with the shape of the guitar, and that was very, very hard and give like a really good resonance to the instrument. But at the same time, the life was very short.
Okay, it wouldn't last as long.
Curved. Yeah, it lasted long. And the neck was like this, made of wood. But during the 20th century, they changed the construction for wood. The wood is preferred now. It sounds louder and it lasts longer.
It lasts longer.
Yeah. And the charango is made of one piece of wood. This is striking. And they carve this piece of wood to make the
Just
body.
kind of like empty it out, like a block of wood that gets
Right.
emptied out.
And they also emptied out the neck. The neck is hollow as well. And has these two
Which is
holes.
very unusual. It's the only instrument that I know, guitar like that, has that approach.
Yeah, and this, I think that they use the hollow neck to improve a little bit the resonance, because it's a very small instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the medium size of the charango, which is the 37 centimeters, the string length. And there are many charangos that are smaller.
And how many different sizes do we have in total?
There are basically three sizes.
So the high register, the middle, and the lower one?
And the lower one, right.
And this would be the middle one?
The middle one. This is more, the more used in the region, because of the tuning as well.
Okay.
And it's more comfortable to play.
Now Andres will play for us a study for charango by a Bolivian composer named Mauro Núñez. The genre of the piece is a traditional huayno. Thank you, Andres, for that beautiful piece. Can you talk a little bit about it? How is the structure of the piece and what techniques are you using for it?
Yeah, in this studio, I use different techniques. Usually the charango is played in cross strings.
Okay.
We do melodies that go by step. I mean, for example, I play the E, the D, the C, but I play it in different strings like this. That's one of the techniques.
Compared to the guitar that you could do all that in 1 or 2 strings, then here you can jumping around more in the fretboard.
Yeah, and this makes this effect of a lot of resonance. Everything is ringing at the same time, which is it's very nice. And also there is the tremolo technique, which we use in the guitar as well.
Guitar, yes.
Yeah, which is this one. In this piece I use just once this technique, but it's a very common technique in the charango.
And can you explain what the tremolo is for the non-guitarist?
Yeah, the tremolo is a technique when you play the same strings, the same song, with 3 fingers, and with the thumb you play the bass. It's like this. If I do this fast, yeah. It's like this. That is an example of the tremolo. And I also use the repique, which is a Spanish word.
Yeah, it's hard to translate that word.
Hard, right? Which is this one. Which is this movement with the index.
Can you do it slower so they can see?
Yeah, I go down, up, or down, up, down, or sometimes I do it for a long time.
That kind of makes a bigger continuous sound.
Right. And in this piece I use the tremolo, but in the classical guitar way, more continuously.
So is that something that people that play charango also does, or that's you because of your background as a guitarist?
Actually, it's something that most of the charango players do now.
They use that technique.
And from the second half of the 20th century, they started like playing with more difficult techniques. Before, the charango players used to play accompaniments, which was like strummings mostly, like this. They use the repique a lot, but they didn't play this kind of techniques.
It wasn't a melodic instrument, it was more for accompaniment.
Right.
And in what type of ensemble does the charango play? Does it play by itself or usually with other instruments?
Usually the charango isn't played like by itself.
By itself.
Yeah, it's accompanied by a guitar. That is the most typical like ensemble for charango. Is a guitar and charango. But in the traditional music from Bolivia, Peru, and also from the north of Chile, the many groups has charango, the quena, that was it's a kind of flute, a bombo,
which is the drum.
Drum, right, and singers, and a guitar.
And guitar.
A guitar. Right.
And just for comparison, I just want to show the different sizes between the charango and the guitar.
Yeah, this is very small in comparison.
And let's turn it around just so they can see the back.
The shape.
We have a flat back here compared with a round back, and that one is ornamented also. Now, this study that you play is a huayno. Can you tell us about the huayno? What generalize that, or is it based on something, or where does it come from?
The huayno is Bolivian dance, and during the centuries also spreads out to the Andean region, the north of Chile. But actually, the north of Chile during the 19th century was Peruvian.
Okay.
And so in all this region, Peru, Bolivia, and Chile, this has been played.
That's where the huayno kind of comes from.
Right. And the rhythm is it's in 2/4, and sometimes go to 1/4. Some measure I like.
Like in between, just to kind of.
Between, yeah. It's
to create some accents.
Yeah, and it's a dance also. I have been in parties, in carnivals in Peru and Bolivia, and people still dance this music and play this in the street.
So it's a tradition that is still going on.
Yeah.
It's not something that people do to preserve the tradition, but it's actually currently
still
happening.
Yeah, and they don't just dance for the tourists. They dance to celebrate their festivities, these holidays.
Great. So you're gonna play one more piece for us, right? And this one is a cueca. Can you tell us a little bit what the cueca is and where it's from?
Yeah, the cueca is rhythm that is played in Peru, Chile, Bolivia, the north of Argentina as well, and comes from the samba cueca, which is a Peruvian dance.
Okay.
And this piece that I'm going to play was composed by Horacio Duran, which is a Chilean charango player that is part of the group Inti Illimani, very famous group in Chile.
Probably one of the most famous groups with Andean music.
Right, and this piece is we call in Chile the northern cueca.
Okay. And now Andres Pantoja once again is going to play the piece Manzanita, a traditional cueca by Horacio Duran. Thank you, Andres, for that beautiful piece. That was Manzanita, a traditional cueca by Horacio Duran. Thank you so much for coming and for contributing to this class. I really appreciate you coming and showing your instrument.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad to come.
Thank you.